Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising. It's really hard to envision what's possible until you start. And it took, 4 years to really go from thinking about a podcast to publishing the very first 5 episodes all in one day. That happened back in June 2020 when I finally decided to launch the Going Long podcast with yours truly, Billy Keels. Now, it's been 4 years, but you can probably already feel like things are a little bit different in this episode. Well, I can promise you that because today we're keeping it very real, going to be very transparent, and even some moments where yours truly gets a little bit vulnerable. But if I think back to June 2020, in this 4-year anniversary, in this 4th-year anniversary episode, I can tell you that there was absolutely no goal to be ranked in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. There was definitely no goal to publish 435 episodes to date. And there was no goal to be listened to in over 60 countries. Now, each one of these is I accept each one of these with lots of humility. And at the same time, one of the things I recognize is that anytime you have success comes with challenges. And guess what? Those challenges also come with opportunities. One of the things I want to do is address a couple of the questions that come up a lot or have come up recently. And also talk to you about how 2023 specifically not only presented me with some challenges, also gave me some opportunities to change, but most importantly, provided the chance to rise above adversity. But before we get into today's episode, because this one's a little bit different, actually, you're going to see me as, I'll tell you just after this, you're going to see me as a guest. Yeah. But before we get into the episode, there are a couple people that I absolutely want to say thank you to. First and foremost, I want to thank my sons. You are my motivation. You are my inspiration. You are the loves of my life. And without the two of you, this would have been so much more complicated to get through. 2023, I'm referring to. Big shouts out and massive thank you to Mom for being there around the clock, all day, all night, and also making sure that I was doing the things that I was supposed to be doing. Dad, big shouts out. Lots of love. Thank you for spending so many hours, or actually investing so much time with me on the phone and video and getting through 2023. To stepmom for continuing to have confidence in me, supporting me, and also to my brother and sister. Without the two of you, I don't know, like I said, thousands of hours. Want to say thank you. Big love to you. Also want to thank other friends who have become family members, like brothers and sisters, dedicating time, carving out times in your schedule just to be there with me, to sit in the mud, to laugh, to cry. We couldn't have done any of this without you, or gotten to this point without you. And also, too, I want to say a big thank you to my team, because without you, we wouldn't have continued to publish. We wouldn't have continued to be able to address the things that we needed to address. So I want to send a big thanks to you. And so let me move towards today's episode, because it's a little bit different, and I know you're going to like it because it's going to answer a lot of questions. Specifically, some of the questions you've had around what happened in 2023, what was going on, and so you specifically asked about, Billy, what are these highlight episodes? What's this all about? Why are they happening, or why did they happen? And also, too, now you've recognized there's some changes, and I'm doing a lot more solo episodes. And what's the reason behind doing more of the solo episodes? So let me address those two things first. 2023, and you'll hear more about this in the episode, was a very challenging time for me. Lots of things happened for me in 2023. And one of the things that I decided to not do was continue to publish or be in front of the camera for a period of time. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that we continuously delivered on our promise to give you 2 episodes per week. And so that is what we did. We continued to come up with those episodes, and these are really rich episodes with content, actionable advice, and we've trusted, and based on the things that we've seen from our stats, you did appreciate that. And then the second part is really understanding the solo episodes. Now, this goes back to actually 2022. In 2022, started doing some solo episodes, and based on the data that we have, you really were enjoying them. You also had some of your honest written reviews, and you let us know that you like that. And so we continue to now do, as I continue to have new curiosities and new ideas, I want to share them with you directly in the same way that I was doing it before, in much shorter episodes, and also being able to give you much more actionable advice, stories, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the two reasons that, well, I wanted to just make sure that we address those right now. But most importantly, as I continue to have new interests, new areas where I know that I want to be able to make an impact, and also the topics that are going to be relevant for you, you're going to start to understand and feel, just like today, that the podcast is going to continue to evolve, going to now focus on a lot of the new interests that I have. A lot of the focus areas that I will share with you are areas of passion that I have, really very similar to before, really helping those that are mid 6-figure and 7-figure salary corporate employees, and helping you to be able to recognize and make the path to help to make your 9-to-5 optional. We're going to talk about specific topics that are related to money, to your mindset, and also to the mission that you're on. Being able to do it in a way that was much more effective, being able to do it in a shorter time frame that I was being able to do. And who knows, we may even get back to inviting some guests every once in a while to also bring in their insight. But it's one of these things. We know where we want to go, and we will adjust along the way, and also see what it is that you want and how we can fulfill on that promise. So with that, we're going to do something a little bit different today. As I said, you're already feeling that, but today I'm going to be the guest. We have a massively superstar host today, somebody who's actually chasing to be more on the podcast more than my sons. We'll see if he gets there. But what I want to also say is, as you continue to be with us along this journey, you will be listening to and watching, for those of you who like to watch on video, the things that are on my heart, that are on my mind. And my goal is that you continue to stay with me, with the podcast. And at the same time, I'll understand if this means that this is a point in time where this is not really what you want to do anymore. And what I can say is I have appreciated every single second that you have invested with me to be here, to listen, to watch. And what I can wish for you now is continued peace, love, and light. And so with that, I want to share with you today's 4-year anniversary episode number 435, where I am your guest of the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, today hosted by Jerome Myers.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Going Long podcast. I am your host, Jerome, and I am not in Barcelona. I am not Billy Keels, but Billy Keels is here today, and he is in Barcelona. Billy, how are you, man? So good to be with you today.
Hey, well, thank you very much, Jerome. It's kind of weird to be on this side of the microphone or the camera or whatever, but yeah, it's nice to be here. And you're a wonderful, gracious host, man.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to be here. Shout out to the boys, because I'm in rare air right now. I'm back on the show, guys. I'm coming for the top spot. I want to be the most repeated guest on this podcast. And with that said, Billy, you've been in the cave. I call it figuring out how to make fire. And you've been doing some reflection. You've been doing some thinking, and I think you've come up with some new hypotheses on what things are really about and how you are going to make an impact on the world. And that's part of the reason why I'm over here today, because I get to ask some questions about the journey that you've been on over I don't know if we call it the past year, the past 18 months, but it's been a while. And so whenever time passes like that and really smart people go away and go in, some amazing things start to happen and people benefit on the backside. So what's been going on, man? What sent you into the caves to start doing all this deep work?
Yeah, so I love the question. And so this is it's one of these things where it's been quite a while to actually have a host, because you're the host, and have a guest here because everybody's gotten used to just having me monologue here recently. But one of the things you talked about is really important, is when life gives you the opportunity to make changes. Sometimes, well, no, not sometimes, but you want to make sure that you make the most of each one of those opportunities that you have to change and to elevate the things that have presented themselves in your life. And so 2023 was a very impactful year for me. So I had two major decisions or major things that happened in my life. Aside of being able to spend a lot of the time with the guys, or investing my time is the best way to say it. Investing my time with my two young men, the guests who no one has ever seen their faces. You have seen their faces a couple times, actually.
You're cute guys, man.
Yeah. So being able to invest a lot of time and energy with my boys has been absolutely fantastic. And at the same time, I've gone through divorce in my life, and so that is something that was, I think most of the people that have ever listened to me and been here know that family is such an important thing for me. Being together was such an important aspect or fundamental part of who I believed I was, and that had a change in my life. And then also at the same time, as you leave the corporate world, there's so many positive things that can happen, and also following after your own dream or chasing your own goal, building your own dream. You also learn that not every single person that you come into contact with is as let's say what's the best way to put it? It has the same intentions as you do. So this kind of a topic. Second thing that happened to me, I can't really go too much into it right now, but let's just say some business dealings didn't move in the direction it was supposed to, and because there's still a course of action that's in progress, can't really go into that second part too terribly much. But the most important thing is both of those actions that happened for me in 2023 really gave me the opportunity to sit down, to reflect on myself as an individual, as a person, as a leader, as a father, and figure out really what do I want to be able to do in the next chapter of my life, in this current chapter of my life, to be able to continue to grow, and also to be able to give back to others, and to help others. And it's already started happening in quite of a nice way. Does that answer your question?
No. Yeah, it does at the highest levels, and we'll only go as deep as you're comfortable going deep on any of these topics. I know a lot of people are impacted by family changes, and I know a lot of people go into business and they find people who don't have the same level of integrity as they do, and that can impact them and force them to make adjustments or changes to their approach to business, so that they not only protect the others who may be participating in the business with them, but also so that they protect themselves. When you have a servant's heart, I think it's easy to believe that others are interested in serving instead of getting gain, even if it's ill-gotten. But that is not who you are. And so I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's a warning sign for folks out there that, if you're not careful, there are people who will take advantage of somebody who is trustworthy. So with that said, there's been some little signals out there, man. I looked at your LinkedIn tagline not too long ago, and it says something about 9 to 5 and optional. And, I don't know the exact words, but I'm sure you do. And I mean, you don't do things kind of happenstance. So how do you make your 9 to 5 optional?
Yeah. So, well, it's actually pretty simple process to be able to do that. But I guess the most important thing is come back to what you mentioned before. And as you go through life, and I spent so much of my early years being that the student who was a really, really great student, studied hard, worked hard, got the really good grades, then went out, got the great job, in well, it wasn't my dream job, but it ended up being an amazing job. I traveled around the world. Got a chance to see almost 60 countries in 5 years, which is absolutely amazing. Set me on a trajectory to start to go out, see the world, explore new things. Moved up the corporate ranks. I think I talked about it many times, managing businesses as large as $100 million across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, closing transactions in other languages and other cultures, almost $30 million. And so there's a certain point you start to think, wow, this is going to continue to move in this way. And I'm going to continue to be in the corporate game, and I'm going to continue to have the luxury cars, and I'm going to continue to fill up the bank account and continue to spend time on airplanes, on trains, and do all of these different things. And then one of the things we talked about, these two little guys, they show up in your life, and you start to realize that, hang on a second, is it really worth staying overnight so many times? Is it really worth being on so many calls? Is it really worth having this constant feeling of insecurity that my bank account is going to start to crash? And I was really fortunate to realize that, hey, there's a lot of different skill sets that I've learned in corporate that I can actually do, that I'm helping other people build their dreams during the day. And I was very, very happy doing that. And at the same time, realized, wow, if I could start to have my own time and keep my own time, and be able to invest it with those that I love in the moments that I want, then that's what I wanted to do. And so I went on a track for about a decade to be able to not only enjoy and give a lot to corporate, but also to build my own business and be able to do that on the side, almost about a decade. And so I realized that there were some pretty key principles that you needed to be able to do, not making the same mistakes that I made. Because even though I was able to leave corporate at the age of 48, I could have done it even faster, more efficiently, with a lot less heartache and probably a lot less drama. And so making your 9 to 5 optional is really about being able to say, hey, listen, I enjoy my corporate role. I like what I'm doing. It's giving a lot to me, to my family. And I don't want to have to go through thinking that I 100% have to depend on a corporate salary for the rest of my life. Because a lot of times, if you want to design your own life, it doesn't mean working 12 to 16 hours a day in an office and on planes, trains, and automobiles, unless you want to do that. So the whole point around 9 to 5 optional is really about saying, hey, you like your corporate role, you like being able to get big 6 and sometimes 7-figure bonus checks, and yes, they do exist. It's about how do you do that and figure out where does that fit in your overall life plan, and how can you enjoy that, get the experience, the network, the contacts, and then at the same time be able to feel confident in exiting stage left, meaning leaving corporate life if and when it's the right time for you. So that's about the 9 to 5 optional and being able to do it so that you're also understanding how you have a clear mindset, you have the money and the capacity to do it, and also how you're building the right momentum so that when it's time to exit, you can exit.
This is exciting. You know, I'm the exit guy. I like talking about exits.
I'm going to just plug you real quick. The Exit Paradox. Check him out, Mr. Myers.
Yeah. So, you know, that you talked about the exit. So what's really been cool about watching your journey over, I don't know, maybe the past 5 years or so, is you've never begrudged having a job, right? The W-2 treated you well. It created all kinds of opportunities. The only time that I've heard you not be super positive about it was the fact that you were getting on a plane on the day that your child was having a birthday. And that had an impact on you. And it was a move where you decided that you wanted to be in more control. And that more control meant either you decided if you came and went, or when you came or went. There are other things that you decided you wanted to control. And maybe control isn't the right word. Maybe I would say you decided not to give up your agency. I really like the word agency. And I think that is relevant with some of the things that we talked about early on, where you were discussing, hey, I had a family change. Hey, I had some business stuff that I didn't really love. And you get to decide how you're going to engage or interact with those things. For a lot of people who have those things happen at the same time, they would just crumble. They would break. They would give up. They would just, turn around and say it just wasn't meant to be, and put the dreams in a bottle and throw it out to sea. But when going on that journey with you, I got to see what resilience really looks like. And I don't believe that resilience is a word that's talked about a lot. I got a book recently called Anti-Fragile. And they talked about building the anti-fragile, and they're like, it's special, it's different. I think they were just trying to be cute from a marketing standpoint. But the fact of the matter is, resilience is the thing that makes us able to deal with the stresses and the challenges that come up in life. And I found entrepreneurship to be one of the most stressful and at times traumatic things that you can go into. What do you credit your resiliency to? Where did you build that? Because I know that it's a muscle, it's something that can be built. But as we're talking about mindset, resiliency is kind of intertwined with that.
So one of the things that, and you mentioned being on that journey, part of that journey with me, a good part of that journey. Uh, I like to think about what is the actual meaning. How does someone define resilience, right? And resilience, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Now I read that and I almost I get a little bit emotional actually, because it was a it
Mm-hmm.
was a moment to be able to go through that, right? And so you start to realize you don't really understand how resilient you are until you're given situations that are extremely difficult, extremely challenging. And I think going into especially the two things that really impacted me I would say on a not positive note, I didn't realize how resilient I was. And also being a recovering perfectionist, actually the perfectionist really started coming out because it was like, hey, I can do all this by myself. I can handle this all by myself. And you start to realize that life gives you at times opportunities to show who's actually in charge or who's not in charge, and have you done the things in the way that are in an integrous way or in a way that helps you to continue to stand and face any type of adversity. And I realized that the ability to be resilient is not just about having a plan. It's not just being able to recover um, from or easily adjust to misfortune and change. It also has a lot about who do you have around you when life gives you your most difficult challenges, and what interests do those individuals have in terms of being able to sometimes just listen, sometimes just sit in the mud, right? Not do anything, just listen till you get things off of your heart. Other times to be able to pick you up, other times to be able to challenge you so that you can adjust to whatever misfortune or whatever change you perceive to have happened, right? And so a lot of it, I guess, was probably just watching two parents grow up early on in life that were constantly faced with challenges that were financial, sometimes based on relationship, and seeing that and recognizing that they were able to continue to move forward. They were able to continue to do the best for me, for my brother and my sister, putting what they wanted to be able to do, my parents, their own individual, maybe goals and objectives to bring out the best for us. And then having the humility, right, was one of the things that you and I talked about, to be able to say, hey, look, I need help. I need somebody that I can talk to. I need somebody that can listen to me, because I know that no matter how difficult this may seem, eventually we'll be able to move forward and be even better, faster, stronger. Just on a side note, I was not talking to my mom not too long ago, just a couple of days ago, and in this conversation we were just laughing. And in the conversation, my mom literally stopped. And so, Mom, if you're listening, I'm gonna tell a little bit about our conversation. And she stopped in the conversation and she said, "Son, do you realize how blessed you are?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "A year ago, you wouldn't have been able to be laughing like you are laughing right now. Um, or you wouldn't have laughed the way you're laughing right now." And it helps me to always remember that um, I am a resilient individual, and I
Mhm.
am here to not only learn and grow, but also give to others. And if there's anything that I've learned about resiliency, is that it really is about having a plan, but also having the right relationships of people that you can go to when, not if, but when things don't go according to plan, and that they are thinking about you and your interest to be able to help move you forward. So, Mama, yeah, I
Now,
did tell a little bit of our conversation. So, I hope you still love me.
now, one of the things that I see coming up more and more is the mental health of men.
Mm,
And a lot of times, we just lift more weights or we'll run or we'll talk to our friends. But I think there are times in our lives where we might need some more help. And so I know there's in some cultures, there's stigma around getting support from professionals. Those are therapists, counselors. I know you grew up in the Midwest, and, it's kind of pull yourself up by your bootstrap country. What would you say to somebody out there who is struggling with change or struggling with whatever the stress is of their life, and they're trying to get it from people who aren't actually trained to support them through it, even if they may have similar life experiences?
Yeah, so that's the thing that comes to mind is you don't know what you don't know, right? And many times you do go to maybe someone who doesn't, and they don't intentionally not have um, your best interest at heart, but they're maybe trying to protect you. They think they're protecting you by responding sometimes to things that can happen. We live in a day and age now where, somebody maybe listening to this podcast and they just randomly got it because a friend of their family said, "Hey, listen, you should go and check out this podcast. There's a similar story, et cetera, et cetera." The access to information, the access to thoughts that are different than ours, I think is just everybody has a phone, right? And can access that, whether it's audible listening or going to watch a video, to be able to go outside of your quote unquote comfort zone, to be able to take in other points of view, professional points of view. There's a lot of different podcasts, there's videos, there's different things. And I would suggest that someone at least go out and look at 2 or 3 different points of view, if nothing else, because just going to talk to your friends that you've talked to your whole life who live down the street from you or are doing the exact same stuff that you're doing is not necessarily the best way to help to change the paradigm that you're looking to change. So I would start there first and foremost. And I would also say, the way that I grew up, you didn't really talk a lot about your stuff outside of the house. Not right or wrong. It's just the way that me and a lot of I was talking to some really good friends of mine not too long ago, and it's how we were raised. What I can tell you, my experience now is that it's really great when you can go talk to a trained professional that has a very objective viewpoint and are listening with trained ears that can give you perspective on really what is happening, what's happening on a conscious level, what's happening on a subconscious level, on an emotional level. So I'm a big fan of that. And I think with technology, or I know with technology, it's easier than it ever has been.
Wow. So there's access to the help, and in concept, that help could help you move through whatever your challenges are more quickly because of their training.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
I trust you're enjoying today's conversation. If you want to find out more about how to make your 9-to-5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising. Now back to the conversation.
I would say that in the cave, you might have found the really dark spot, the rock bottom. What pulled you out? Where was the light?
So there's a lot of lights, but I think the biggest light, I was talking about my mama earlier, just being there and knowing that the brightest light was my mom, because she just spent so much time with me. She didn't spend it. She invested time with me. She made sure that I was doing the things that I needed to be doing when I needed to do them, even if I didn't want to, i.e. eat and eat and eat and eat, which was fantastic. But being able to find
your mom lives close to me. I have to go see what's going on. I need to go see what Mama Keels got. I don't know, man. Let me go down the street.
We get that hooked up. Now, so, just having her there and present was massive. But also you start to realize, and this is one of the mistakes that I was making, is I wasn't giving people, close friends, family members, the opportunity to help me release some of the burden that I was carrying, to allow them to love me, allow them to pour into me. And so it's one of those things that I recognize, yeah, there was definitely a dark place. But a year later, I realized that I am so much stronger. I am so much more powerful thanks to the friends, yourself included, that were there for me in the moments that even I didn't recognize. I just needed to talk to somebody. It was just because I had things that were going on in my mind. And so that was probably the greatest source of light. And then realizing, I mean, the obvious thing, and this is, I'm going to verbalize it because that's just what I am doing, is being able to be the best version of a father for my sons. Like that is just an amazing, like, because they serve as inspiration for me all the time, even when they don't even realize it. And then having this bright light of my mother there, and then having friends that continue to pour into me, that were there for me, and that continue to be here for me. It just gives me the recognition to say, hey, listen, like there's so much more. Like this is a moment in time. Like that's one of the things that I did take away as well from the experiences, is everything is a moment in time, no matter how. And this is like conceptually, like you hear it, but until you actually live it. So now I've gone from sympathy to empathy, because now I've lived it. Now I understand what it's all about. And it's saying this moment is a moment, and it's a really low moment, but it's going to go away. And then you're going to get to a moment where you think everything is just you're on top of the world. Nothing can stop you. But that's the moment that you also have to realize, like, this is just a moment too. And so now having this perspective is one of the things that really helps me now want to shine my light brighter to other people and help other people be able to move forward and move forward faster. You talk about time. It's just one of those things. That's the thing we don't get back. No matter how much you try to bring in more money, the thing that's the most important is the time, and how are you investing it, and how are you investing your time, because you don't get any of it back. So bright lights, man.
So yeah, how fortunate are you to have the people in your life, but then how fortunate are they to have you? And so there's this mutual benefit going on. And the thing that I've learned is more valuable than anything is having a mutually, I say hopefully you have multiple mutually beneficial relationships where you're able to lean on each other in times of need. And you want to spend time with each other when you don't actually need anything. It's just the opportunity. I remember we were sitting on a boat in St. Lucia not too long ago, and it wasn't a little boat, it was a big boat. In fact, whenever we pulled up, I would look to the left and right to make sure we had the biggest boat. Not that I'm competitive or anything, but right, I still remember sitting there and talking about freedom, talking about what is available to us if we dare to dream and we dare to explore and pursue. And to me, it looks like you're, in a way that I haven't seen in the past, because you're an extremely private person and you protect your time like the Secret Service protects the president. It looks like you're opening up your calendar a little bit more and giving a very select group of people access to you and your experiences and your network. And so who is that designed for? Because, we talked about 9 to 5 and it was super high level, but I think you actually got this thing dialed in. I think you're helping people with like inefficiency and like, help me.
Yeah. So, and this is probably more around the what are we doing now in terms of working and helping and serving others from a business perspective, I guess is that more the yeah. Okay. So, yeah, one of the things that happens when you are a kid from a lower middle class family, and you watch your family members work hard, and then you work hard, and then you start to get the recognition, and then after the recognition, you start to get the financial reward. You believe that the only thing that you can do is continue to work harder and get more financial reward and get more recognition, and you get into this loop, this similar thing that I was talking about earlier. Well, when you start to realize that it's not just about finances and about money, it's also about time, how you invest your time. It's the struggle that I had for the 10 years that I was living two lives, right? It was, I constantly felt like I couldn't do enough, even though I was doing a lot and I was making a lot of money. But I also wanted to be at home with the family. I also wanted to be in front of the CEOs of the major multi-billion euro companies that we were talking to. I wanted to lead the team that I was going for. And I also wanted to make sure that I was getting my sleep at night, right? And at a certain point, you start to realize that you have so many options. You have financial resources, you have relationships, and at the same time, you're working on doing every single thing yourself because that's just the way that you've always done it. And when you start to realize that there are only 24 hours in a day, that your dream is so big that you want to be able to have the option of continuing to work at a big company or have the option of exiting stage left with no hard feelings along the line, there are so many different areas of you. You're choosing the wrong priorities. You're on that corporate phone call when this is actually a call that nothing is going to happen. There's no decisions that are going to be made, and you could have been investing that time with your child, or you could have invested that early morning time to be able to move the agenda for your small company forward. And it's to be able to help those individuals who are working in big companies. There's probably most of our clients are in the area of, from a financial resource perspective, they're in the mid six-figure salary type of range. And most people think that they're doing really, really well on the outside, and inside, well, they've got the same struggles that I was going through, especially early on in those days when I was really building the business and things like that. And so it's to be able to give them work in a very high touch manner, one-on-one, and being able to identify the areas of the extreme inefficiencies that they are suffering from. And a lot of that you're suffering from because if you grew up like me, you never wanted to release any of the money that you had. You just want to keep it in your bank account, and you think that that's how you win the game. And Jerome, you and I have talked about this multiple times. It's the financial resources are one thing, but if they just sit there, they become stagnant. They're not actually able to really help you create new options for your life. So it's being able to understand how to best use the resources, and that's financial resources, but also the most important resource is your time. How are you effectively utilizing the time so that ultimately you can invest it with the people that you love the most, when you want to invest it with them the most, and where you want to invest them with them the most. You talk about St. Lucia or wherever we're going to see one another next. So hopefully that's been clear.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, we could go on there, and I think there'll be more unpacking your journey, but I think this is a lot for the listeners to consume. I think this is probably one of the more vulnerable episodes of the Going Long podcast. I don't know. Are you at 400 now? Is something like that episodes in?
Yeah, so we've gone well over 430. And there's one thing I do want to just say, because there's the time that I was going through what I was going through. I do want to recognize, and I know my team is going to be listening, but just such an amazing team to be able to step up and move forward and make sure that we never skip the beat on being able to be here with the podcast and so many other different facets of our business and the way that we serve others. And I just want to thank each and every one of them from the bottom of my heart for continuing to stand up. And I know we've talked about this before. This is kind of like the first public platform been able to do that on. Just absolutely fantastic. I don't want to say names because they're very private people, but you know who you are, and I appreciate everything that you did, and also the team specifically on the podcast, to continue to make sure, no matter how Billy was feeling or how Billy was looking, that you made sure that the podcast went out every Tuesday, every Thursday on time. And just, it's been fantastic. It's over, 430 is crazy to think. 4 years. Hey, by the way, Jerome, this is something that most people don't know. This podcast almost never happened. And so I am so blessed and very fortunate that continued to move forward and think about making sure that this podcast got started. A buddy of mine, Tyler Sheff, a long time ago, I said, he'd be the first guest, and he was the first guest. And there were moments when I was going to shut the podcast down. And I am so glad that I decided to continue to move forward with the podcast because it's been a way to continue to go out and meet amazing people, be intentional about the relationships that we're building. And also thanks to the extensive network of people around the globe, I'm able to help other people now in this new phase of my journey, because there's so many different people around the globe and companies around the globe that, after 430 some episodes are connected to. So that's been awesome as well.
Now, I know this is your show, Billy, but I feel like there's some new websites out there. There's some new products. I don't know if you want to send them anywhere, but after bonding with you in this way, I imagine people want to find out more. They're curious. Some people are just nosy. Other people are curious. What should where should they go to get more?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is interested in understanding more about specifically what we do in helping that high wage earner be able to make your 9 to 5 optional, the best way to do that is to go to billykeels.com/advising. There's a little application there, and go find out a little bit more about you, make sure it's the right fit, continue to go there. But also, too, growing up as I did, like, one of the ways that I want to make sure that I'm able to give back anyway is through the podcast. It would be fantastic if you're listening to something today and you know that a family member or a friend or someone who's struggling in corporate, they want to listen to it. Just, forward this over or share this with the family member. It's a free way to be able to do that. All of the information that we're doing, anything that's updated, anything that's changing, everything you can find at billykeels.com. But if you are specifically interested in knowing more about our advisory program, just go to billykeels.com/advising.
billykeels.com/advising. And is the podcast going to stay named Going Long?
Yeah, great question. So this is one of the things. And so for those of you that, as you continue to listen, and appreciate you being here until now, the podcast will stay the same. And with so many different things that have happened in life, like, there are so many experiences that I have, and they're always going to be a part of me. At the same time, and Jerome, you were asking about that light. One of the things that I've realized is, with that light that I'm seeing at this point in my life, I want to do other things. I want to also focus on other areas. So moving forward, we'll take the experience of understanding long distance investing and these types of things, and also now really want to focus more on my curiosity, the things that I know are also going to help someone else be resilient, and focusing on things like your mindset, focusing on areas that I'm really, really love, which is the areas of money, and also the areas of being able to build momentum. Right, these are the areas of interest that I have, and I know that as you continue to listen to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, we're going to talk about these things, and you're going to continue to get more information and insight from me. And I'd really love to see everybody join us. I mean, we continue to be a top 1.5% podcast thanks to you. And I'm assuming that we're just going to continue to move into the top 1%. So.
Wow. Well, I'm a little bit biased, Billy, but I think this is one of the best episodes of the Going Long podcast.
I think we found a new host, man.
Well, I think we just need to bring this guest back over and over again. Maybe we'll just let him come on and do some monologues.
I got to talk to the boys about that. No, listen, Jerome, I do appreciate everything that you do, and you have been such a great friend, and also just, we talk about intentional relationships, and continue to grow, and love the opportunity to continue to share with you, and I feel very blessed, fortunate that you are on the journey with me, on the journey with you, and I appreciate the fact that you have invested time with me today, and the entire Going Long family, as I like to say. And would you do me a favor? Will you talk more about, I know I kind of plugged the exitparadox.com earlier, but just before we leave, how are you helping people as well, Jerome?
Man, I think the fastest way to describe this, where I like to have a long conversation about it, because I think it's deep and complicated, but Billy always pulls me up and just like, what is it, man? So when people transition, they experience feelings that they may not have experienced in the past. And many people don't know what to do with them. Some people think they have a diagnosis, but here's the thing. If you sold a business for a lot of money and you lost your identity, you lost your friends, and you lost your routine, we should talk, because that is a very challenging experience. There is no diagnosis for it, and you can spend anywhere from 3 to 5 years trying to figure your way out of it. And we've created a 4-step process that will help you move through that rather quickly and get back to the place where you're feeling like your old self and contributing to the world in a big way. Go to theexitparadox.com to get and /assessment, theexitparadox.com/assessment, and find out your post-exit personality avatar. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'll let you wrap things up as the host, but as you continue to be here with us to the very end, thank you very much for continuing to be part of a member of the Going Long family. I appreciate it. And you're going to get amazing conversations, episodes moving forward. And like I said, well, I'm really looking forward to you continuing to be a part of the journey. And thank you very much, Jerome.
Wait, you don't get off that easy, man. What's your favorite country in Europe? What is it? Come on. You don't let anybody else off the show.
Why you put me on the spot, man?
You don't let anybody else off the show without answering that question.
All right. My favorite European. Well, can I say my favorite European city? I'm going to say, well, I'll say my favorite European city that I've visited so far. And before I tell you why, one of the things that I recognized, and this is part of finding the light, and it is when you understand more about yourself, continue to be yourself, continue to grow into and evolve as the person that you are. One of the things that I love is being able to have this beginner's mindset. And a reason for that is because it sparks my curiosity. It gives me the desire to want to learn something new. And that is the thing that gives me energy, which is one of another reasons that I love being able to serve our clients, because as I learn new things and sharing new things, it's just part of my DNA. It's who I am. It's a part of who I am. And I'm accepting it and claiming that and walking into it. And one of the things that I did last year was, after having been at 86 countries that have been very fortunate enough to visit for probably over a decade, I decided that it was time to get back on the visiting new countries, visiting new cities, inspiring my mind to think and see new street lights and new smells and new things like that. And so the 87th country that I've been fortunate enough to visit was Croatia. And I spent 3 days in Dubrovnik. So the city that I'm going to talk about is Dubrovnik, because it meant so much to me, just as a reminder to get back in and start to do new things. And there's going to be a new country coming up very, very soon as well. So, but yeah, I will go with Dubrovnik, Croatia.
All right, Going Long family, we're out of here. So signing off, Jerome Myers, Billy Keels. Hey man, let's make your 9-to-5 optional.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9-to-5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.